What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Jimin's debut album Face, the fourth BTS member to release a solo project since BTS, of course, announced their temporary hiatus and break for solo activities and the mandatory Korean military service. We got the J Hope album, we got the Jin single, we got the RM album, which have been reviewed on the show. Now we got the Jimin album, Jimin's first solo project of any kind. And this was a release, of all the BTS solo albums to come. This was one I was anticipating because Jimin has a really unique voice and has always stood out as a vocalist within BTS. Really, obviously, for his high register, he just stands out as someone who can really hit those high notes. That boy can sing. I think to me, my favorite moment is probably his contributions to On from Map of the Soul 7. I think he sounds great on that, but of course, he's well lauded on other songs like Black Swan, for example. He has a really noticeable part of the vocals on BTS songs and carries and helps carry many of the best BTS songs. I think people know this, BTS fans know this. So hearing a Jimin record would be really exciting before he assumingly begins his military service soon as well. I'd imagine that's going to start this year. Uh, in the lead up to this, we got, I think, a real treat as well with the solo song from Big Bang member Taeyang, Vibe, featuring Jimin. I think Jimin sounds really strong and fits that song really well, and that really livened my anticipation for the Jimin solo record, which we just got, Face. And my issue with this album is it's just so short. This Jimin album, Face, it's really more of an EP. It's 20 minutes long, 6 tracks, but it features Like Crazy and Like Crazy English version, so that's really one track, and it also features an interlude. So it's really only four unique tracks. And yes, Jimin has a solo song here or there that's come out in the past, like Wings and Promise, I believe it was. Like he's had some material out, but man, I was really hoping this would be a bigger impression as a release because I think the stuff that is here is pretty good and pretty intriguing, and that's what makes you just really wish you were getting more. The RM album was really fully formed, and the album was about the same length but featured more songs. I was just a bit disappointed in the brevity of Face, but for what we get, I do think it's intriguing, and that just I think speaks to Jimin as a vocalist again. Starting off, you have Face Off, which was co-written by RM. You have just I think a really lively beat, which sounds nice, and then a really catchy chorus that Jimin I think carries really awesomely. Then you have the interlude track, which I don't really care for all that much. It's like a bunch of vignettes, I guess. Whatever. You're not gonna listen to it again. Then track three is the best song on the album, Like Crazy, which is a really engaging synth pop track. The beat is awesome. Those snares are bouncing. Uh, Jimin sounds awesome on that, but just it's a really poppy, lively track. It sounds great. Actually, inspired by the film of the same name with Jennifer Lawrence and Anton Yelkin from I think 2011. You hear those like vocal samples from the movie in there. Kind of a fun deep cut in terms of taking inspiration. The next song, Alone, that's Jimin really slowing it down. Perhaps more what you'd expect of his past work, his past solo efforts, because as someone who's like a singer first, in terms of how he contributes vocally, the ballady stuff is more what you expect from him, and that's like the closest you get on Face with Alone. Uh, then we have Set Me Free Part 2, which was the lead single for this album, has a music video out. And that is, I think, a really interesting song because it features something really Jim has never done before, which is like this heavy, heavy auto tune and basically doing rapping. When we think of rapping in BTS, we of course think of RM and Suga and J Hope. There isn't really a lot of room for a fourth rapper in BTS, and Jimin trying it out more or less for the first time publicly on a song like this, I think is interesting. I don't know I don't know how successful it is, just because for someone with such a strong voice, it's disappointing to hear it like drowned in autotune. I think if this album was a bit longer, it would have supported these kind of like fun attempts at doing something new better. But because it's so short and so brief, it stands out more that this is kind of a Jimin trying something new. It's just a bit more obvious that it's like a bit out of place to me. Still kind of cool though, and I think the horn production on that is really fun. And the chorus from Jimin is probably the best part about this song. Like setting aside the rap verse, like the chorus, I think is very catchy, and I do enjoy it. But yeah, and then you have the Like Crazy English version. Like I said, I think Like Crazy is a huge bop, honestly, and perhaps that English version is, following in the recent K-pop trend of English versions of singles coming out. It has hit potential for sure. It has all those ingredients, and perhaps the English version of it is just what's needed for this song to take off. Not, of course, that you need to create these English versions. It's a bit of a, I think, frustrating compromise a lot of K-pop artists are doing these days, which is re-releasing uh, English versions of a song or putting it out like Jimin did, like at the same time. I just the compromise I don't think is actually needed, given how global and big and accepted K-pop is everywhere, especially in the West now too. So it doesn't bother me, but I think it's unnecessary, and I would have liked a different track to be on this album. That's really only 4 songs. So all in all, I think there is a fair amount to recommend about those 4 songs, but man, I just wish there was more, you know? And I think everyone does. I think that's kind of obvious. It's kind of an agreement. But, Jimin, for someone who kind of came to BTS, came to the K pop industry as a dancer first and not really a singer, to see how far he's come as someone who now is really recognized for his voice and how unique it is and impressive it is. I mean, hats off to him. That's a really impressive thing that he's accomplished, in this BTS journey. And yeah, just hoping for more more solo work when we get it. But who knows if that's coming soon before he goes off to do military service? Not sure. But yeah, let me know. How did you feel about this Jimin record? How would you compare it to the other BTS solo releases we've got in the last year or so? And what do you want to hear next from Jimin? And for more K-pop reviews, more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.